Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 2 of the anime series Shingeki no Bahamut, Virgin Soul. And picking up right where we left off with Rita kind of examining, I guess, Nina. I don't really know what she's up to, but of course, Nina is shocked awake, as we left off, and introduced to Rita, and she's calling herself Dr. Rita now. Like, I don't know. Again, I don't know what she's been up to exactly. She's got all of the Addams family, her little sidekick hand that is mobile on its own that she calls Rocky, which is all kinds of hilarious. And she's just sort of trying to understand what's up with Nina, how she turned into a dragon, and she doesn't at first remember it, but like she's, in this shock, the expressions on her face being hilarious as well. But in her shocking recollection, she's like, oh no, I did it again, And I'm like, dude, what is with this chick? How is she a dragon? How is she getting horny and turning into a dragon? Looking at, who turned out to be Azazel, as I speculated, the rag demon and everything like that. Just absolutely, she is adorable as all hell. She is like best girl of this series, of probably all anime series ever. That's how I feel about Nina. She's hilarious, she's adorable, and she's quirky. And we see that she ends up like writing home, and I don't know if her entire species, they're all humanoid, but we see children playing and they're transforming back and forth, from humanoid to dragon. And is it like an entire species that can do this? Are they an offshoot of demon kind, as Azazel believes? He accosts Nina, trying to seek her power in the supremacy of re-ruling, if you will, humanity, of enslaving humanity for all the enslaving humanity has done to demon kind. And it is really a grotesque display as we see this episode unfold, where Kaiser, he's, now that he knows that the rag demon, or, he answers to his suspicions that the rag demon is Azazel, there's a point where I think you can arguably say Kaiser's becoming sympathetic. And he doesn't want to see Azazel, sort of circling the drain, digging him his own hole, that he'll never escape from and all this stuff. And he actually does chase him down, follow him. He just happens to be in the right place at the right time when Azazel is going in and murdering these people. And you don't quite know why exactly. It almost makes him unsympathetic until they pull back the veil. And, this is Kaiser stumbling upon this realization for the very first time as well, that there's some really sadistic, murderous, hateful stuff going on with demon kind. This fat Captain Kangaroo-looking guy that Azazel saves for last, kills last, when Kaiser is there confronting him and trying to plead with him, saying, this is not the right way to do this. If, there's a certain honor to rebellion, but I mean, it's going to be a long, hard battle to try to win your freedom and win equality and impress upon humanity that you're not so much a danger and all these things, if you're actually going out and committing these heinous crimes, until he then realizes, and we the viewer realizes, there are demon kind in chains, wearing balls and chains and being held captive, being, for all intents and purposes, experimented on. I mean, you're thinking back to, Nazi Germany in the 40s with the Jews. It is the sickest, most sadistic kind of oppression there can be. And suddenly it's like a rude awakening. It's like, wow, humanity has become despicable with their claim to power. With that supremacy they stole from the heavens above, from the gods and the angels, to then turn everything around and enslave demon kind and all of that hell kind. And, of course, understandably, you can really see where Azazel's coming from, even though he is somewhat of a radical in that rebellious movement of wanting to try to bring back the supremacy of demon kind and all that stuff. And so to see this coinciding with the debut of Nina's own dragon form powers, of course, Azazel is looking at this and he's like, if I had this, if I could control this girl, if I could summon this power, forget it. Humanity's last breath will have been breathed, and we're going to be the hierarchy again. We'll rule the world. And so while he is somewhat borderlining the megalomaniacal, there's still a solid impetus as to why. why he is so scathing toward humanity. It's because of humanity's indiscretion in being absolutely penultimately enslaving and destructive, in the worst kind of ways toward demon kind. I mean, you're seeing children demons and like people who are barely skin and bones. Bugs are crawling all over them. You think they're dead until they zoom in and you see they're shuddering ever so slightly from starvation and from just being, tossed out as so much refuse. And it's insane to me, like that revelation, especially after the first episode of the series, which is light and bubbly, and Nina has you cracking up all throughout, and just the craziness of her transforming by the end into this dragon. And it's that much more so driven home how sort of despicable humanity has become, because the king, of course, Charios, he's not, even though he understands, okay, a dragon came out of nowhere and, halted any attempts Kaiser and his Orleans Knights could make to try to capture the rag demon. He's not even going to acknowledge that as any sort of excuse. Forget it. I told you, if you failed me again, you're done. And he holds true to that. He removes this mission from the Orleans Knights, from Kaiser, and gives it to this new brand called the Onyx Knights or something like that, or Onyx Guards, whatever it is. And like, you can tell right off the bat that these guys aren't messing around, that it's, the Emperor in Star Wars, a la sending out so many stormtroopers and things, although these guys are pretty deftly capable of making a strike. They summon this force field stuff. They catch, of course, Azazel as the rag demon making his rounds, and they summon this force field and they capture him for all intents and purposes. But this comes after a couple of shots with Azazel, meeting with Mugaro, his little sidekick, who we find, again, showing off the worst of humanity's traits in how they're dealing with and treating these demons. They like broke his windpipe. So it's so highly intriguing that suddenly we see here is a character disabled for all intents and purposes, who is then the sort of vessel through which a penultimate power is also performed, in that we see this light aglow as if from the heavens above, and I'm half waiting for Jeanne d'Arc, to show up or something like that. And rather was it Mugaro in this glowing, almost transformation, this power that literally silenced and quelled all of the abilities of these Onyx soldiers to, in the attempt of trying to capture Azazel as the rag demon. He was suddenly released and they were all rendered ineffectual. They were all dropped to the ground. And thus upward toward the heavens, toward Mugaro, floating above, is Azazel released. And it's just like, well, holy hell. There's more than one character in this series who is beholden of a secret ability, a secret power. The question does reign high from Rita and for we, the viewer. What is this power that Nina has? How is this brought about? What, manner of being is she? Is she a mixture of dragon kind and humanity somehow? Is that her species? Is it some form of ability that is supernatural? Is it a mixture of demon kind and human DNA? What are those things? And in writing home, she's, holed up with Bacchus ever still, and she's writing these sweet soliloquies, about how great her life is, hanging out with him and living with him for the time being, and how great, her job is, and just wreaking havoc, on the construction lot where she's still, picking up tons of rock and wood planks and all this stuff and putting all these people to shame. And she gets around to talking about, the male of the species, and she's reminding herself how hot and bothered, how heated she gets, and she has to sort of quell it. But in her second draft, she makes mention of, I've still kept to my promise, this promise you asked of me, to not reveal how it is that I can become a dragon. And I don't know if she also then revealed that, well, a couple of people saw me do it, maybe she's keeping that on the down low. I don't exactly know. But it's just, she's so adorable, and she's such a vivacious personality, even in the face of adversity. Even in the face of Azazel, who's coming and getting up in her face. She's like, no, what you want to do is wrong, and I will not exploit my power to this end. Even when shown just how downtrodden and despicable the demon kind has been treated, of course her heart goes out to them, but she's not going to become, you know, a sort of through line to ultimate destruction, to then enslave humanity, especially in the sense that she is not so personally affected by it as Azazel perhaps believes. He accuses her of having demon blood, of that being the you know, the way she can transform, you know, that sort of true form being beholden to demon kind, DNA and whatever like that. That's his suspicion. But of course, I think it's probably something different. I don't know what it is. You know, what exactly, again, a manner of being she is. But it's so interesting that this despicable king, he is untrusting of you know, Kaiser, to the point where they have the Onyx Guards follow him, and this leads to, after the altercation he has between himself and Azazel, you know, this is when they swoop in and they try to get Azazel as the rag demon. And so now they believe, the king, Cherios, believes Kaiser is in cahoots, which does not bode well, you know, for him in his career as part of the Orleans Knights. Might they even turn coat on him? We had the one underling questioning, you know, you're just going to walk away and you're not going to appeal to the king, give us another chance, you know, at getting this rag demon, you're not going to speak up. And so if he's sort of that kind of impetuous character, you know, it might be easy for him, easier than it would be for Kaiser, to fall in line with the king and go after Kaiser. But then, adding insult to injury, they already believe Nina probably is working in tandem with the rag demon Azazel. So if they ever see her again, you know, they'll probably try to go after her. And she is such a loose cannon with this ability. That's part of the charm of her character. For all of her boisterousness and vivaciousness and just positivity, bouncing off the walls with positivity and really loving passionately life and everything she's doing in her daily living. Like, to then be confronted with such darkness and such hate and such conflict, being inadvertently pinioned against the wall with these two other men whom we know she finds attractive, you know, but nonetheless are seen as potentially being criminals. All hell's going to break loose if they touch the wrong nerve in her. And it just, again, it leads me to wonder, one of the overhanging questions, going back to what I said about the first episode, is where is Favreau? And if you watch, you know, the end credits, I don't think you see him in the OP. That was largely a battle going on between Azazel and Kaiser for the most part, and you saw Nina kind of caught in between all of that, much as I'm saying is the vibe of this episode, is where it feels like it's going to degrees. But if you look at the end music and the sort of, you know, side-scroller video game animation that they used for it, with Nina and Bacchus's duck and the little hand Rocky and whatever, a little Tribble with eyes or something like that, you know, going through levels and meeting Rita and all these other characters, Kaiser and everything, Rag Demon. At the very end of that stage, if we look at it as a video game, does she encounter a guy all wearing like rags and goggles? And I looked at the hair, I saw the hair color, kind of a red. I was like, okay, so that's Favreau. In some way, shape, or form, he's coming in. And it's interesting that she gets to the end of the stage, if we're looking at it as a game, and he is at the end of the stage. That says to me, whatever role Favreau has in all of this, it must be something of some significance. Now, will that answer to my speculation and my questioning, you know, is she somehow his spawn? I don't know how that would work. I have no effing idea. But that would be mind-blowing. I would love that, you know, with her own hair color. And it's just such a quandary. It's such a question. And it so excites me because immediately from the get-go, from the word go of this second season Virgin Soul, all throughout the first episode, was I on the edge of my seat? Was I loving Nina's personality? and her humor and her klutziness and her capabilities, and just putting the cap on that bottle of awesome sauce with her transforming into a dragon, and then the mystery that then is a whole new can of worms to be opened and explored. And then, of course, as I say, with the start of this episode, Rita's kind of poking and prodding and trying to understand what it is, and she's not coming clean with anything. She only knows so much, maybe. But that just adds to the compelling cuteness of Nina. And then now to see, to some degrees, Kaiser wants to try to rein Azazel in, but Azazel is all about penultimate power, answering to the destructive force that humanity has wreaked on both heaven and hell, and on his own species, on his own kind. And so you can highly relate to that. You can highly, be empathetic toward him and sympathetic toward him. But he's, much as Kaiser says, and I believe as the viewer, he's seeking about it all the wrong ways. And Nina is very much going to be caught in between all of that. And so I can only excitedly wait with bated breath, much as the king himself says by the end, well, let's see where this all unfolds. This is highly intriguing. I'm much mirroring that sentiment by the end, much as I was at the end of the first episode. I am already in love with this series. I loved the first season, Shingeki no Bahamut Genesis. And I really can't wait. I'm excited to see where this is going to go. And the more Nina we get, the better. I love her. She is such a great character. Very fun, very vivacious, as I say, and boisterous. And just so intriguing. I want to know more about how she is, what she is. And how all these characters are in amongst the interplay, going to come together and either rebel off each other, get together to fight humanity and rebel against humanity's oppression, whatever it's going to be. I am just so stoked to be on this journey. So yeah, otherwise I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of episode 2 of Shingeki no Bahamut, or Rage of Bahamut, Virgin Soul. If you're loving Nina, every minute of her being on screen as I am, if you, as I did, suspected that the rag demon was in fact Azazel, or was that no surprise to you? All told, love it or hate it, anything goes in the comments below. Just love having that conversation. And yeah, so that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well, and I'll catch you all later. Peace.